this one, so here we go. We'll have to add 5 minutes to this program. As you can see, we have a great line of speakers lined up for you. And then we have the panel discussion. So if you have questions, please keep them in mind for the end. That's why these seats are here. You will be able to ask that question. In the meantime, know that FinTech Belgium is a grassroots organization. So myself included, we're all volunteers organizing this, and we have a small staff. And we're always looking for sponsors. We're going to tell you more about that in the part where we say that you can go drink and eat. We have a little bit of messages coming right from that. So without further ado, I'm going to ask Yvan Kiren from CIO of Degroof Petercam, who's hosting this event. That has welcome address to our audience. Go ahead.
Yes, good evening, everybody. So great to see you and welcome on behalf of the Degroof Petercam. Welcome to this nice session on DORA and cybersecurity. I'm extremely happy and honored to host you today. Such an impressive panel. Okay, so we are almost sold out. Why is it so important for us? These two topics, DORA and cybersecurity. Basically, we live that in our hearts. We live that in our veins. I would say through a journey that we have initiated 4 years ago through let's say a profound IT modernization at the Degroof Petercam. We basically renewed our core banking system, our CRM. We put in place an hybrid cloud, a new platform for data, etc. So basically, we have tried to integrate all these components with partners. Of course, we haven't developed everything by ourselves. So the key element for us was, first key element was to find the right partners. Of course, not only for the strategic definition, for the slideware, but mainly for the implementation and for the run. So that's one key element for us, is to have the right partners, and not only the big techs or the big players. Of course, I hope that some of them are also here, I guess, but also smaller partners, providing niche solutions to support our businesses, the strategy of our businesses for selective needs and requirements. That's one. And of course, in such a big transformation for an institution like us, cybersecurity is everywhere. Holistic, it's everywhere, and that's why Emmanuel will also provide you some insights. So the goal of today is basically to share, but my hope is that we will be able to share together from an institution like us and with fintechs, with partners like you, to share our insights, our challenges, our experiences, and our expectations for the future in order to bring the community of fintech at the level, I would say at the appropriate level, to share the experience in order to make sure that you are embarked in the journey of DORA, of such regulatory stuff, of such cybersecurity imperatives. So, welcome to everybody. Enjoy today, now for these exchanges, but also afterwards at the drink, at the lunch, the dinner, sorry. And I think it's over because my phone is... I give the floor to Fabio. Voilà, Fabio, welcome and thanks a lot.
Fabio Colombo from Accenture. As you can see, technology, there's always workarounds, you know. This is the microphone, you're still on the studio. So you're going to show us how to navigate those risks. I hope it works. Now, do you mean how it works? There you go.
Okay, so thank you. Apologies, I saw from the agenda that mine is the longest title. I promise you that the presentation is shorter, so it's just one slide. It's animated, so you will have 5 pillars, but I will come to this briefly. So I came from Italy, and my role is the Global FS Security Leader. But I'm grounded well in EMEA, so I'm leading internally a DORA work group. But today I'm not going to talk about DORAs. I'm going to set the scene, so a bit broader scene. What's happening around the globe, around cyber. So, and DORA for sure is part of these trends. So I try to select 5 big trends that we can then use to understand how DORA can be implied by this, what's happening. So first is we have a big impact of geopolitics. Geopolitics means that there is an increase in conflicts that is leading to state-sponsored attack or collateral damages. And this is growing in terms of ransomware, denial of service, and if you think what DORA is trying to protect and ask FS institutions to increase the cyber and operational resilience. Second, there is a rise in the protectionism, and this coupled with the increase of natural disaster, pandemic, flooding, is causing FS institutions to rethink their global supply chain. where to put security operations center, or which party we need to work with, or we don't need to work with. So we are stepping from a globalized world to a polarized world. And just to give you the sense, we have some customer that is asking us, can you look to my third, fourth, and fifth party to see if there is some Chinese stakeholder in this? So these have subtle evidence that is not so clear, but the polarization of the world is eating cybersecurity too. And then you can see that we have a surge in cyber insurance premium. So cyber insurance could become a big market. We are seeing evolution in Europe, in Germany, in France, but even in Japan. But now the cost of cyber insurance to shift the risk to insurance is becoming hotter and hotter. So the cost is rising. Then you have a second trend that is technology adoption. So AI and Gen AI is bringing a lot of new threats. Japan was not, let's say, a country with phishing. Now phishing has increased by 600 per year. Or languages that are right to left and now are hit by phishing because large language model have the ability to write email in any languages. And if since 1 year ago to look to a phishing email, what you were looking was the grammar, not good grammar. Now it's the opposite. So the phishing email made by LLM are perfect. So you need to change your rules to understand what's happening there. And then you have emergence of sophisticated cyber attack. I think you heard about deepfakes in Singapore, a fraud about, if I remember well, 24 million. So 5 people in a room, all deepfaked. So 5 colleagues that were not real, in real time made by Gen AI. And then we have the threat associated with quantum computing. You know, the estimation is that in 1 to 5 years' time, there will be a day, they call the quantum day or Deku day, in which the computational power will be enough to break the current encryption algorithm. And please look into DORA regulation. There is a specific topic around the encryption algorithm, encryption policy. They need to be state of the art. So DORA is technology neutral. They are not telling you need to be ready for post-quantum cryptography. They are telling you you need to be ready for new threats. Okay, you need to have a policy and to manage these things. And it's not easy. You need to assess where your encryption algorithms are and how you want to manage your crypto agility in the future. And last but not least, we have the IT-OT convergence in banks and even in insurance company with new products. IT and IoT are becoming common. So your operation, your security operations center need to think about this. Third one is the evolving regulatory landscape. So we are here to talk about DORA, but think DORA coupled with Data Act. What could happen is that even if the marks that are, let's say, the most impacted IT provider from DORA, so Microsoft, Amazon, Google, will enable, will enhance the level of resilience, the regulator probably to avoid vendor lock-in and to avoid systemic risk, will ask banks or insurance company to be able to shift from one provider to another, to have a multi-cloud environment. The implication of this request, if you think, are not so easy to manage because you need to have the possibility to shift your provider from one to another and how you need to manage your operating system, how you need to manage your security. You should have a single base of panel, and this is not true today. So this brings some implication that will be not limited only to Europe. There is a sort of Bruxelles effects, okay? This implication will be around the globe. And then you have a compliance challenge. We did a study for the World Economic Forum together with them, and what we discovered is that mid-tier financial institutions and small financial institutions are struggling to be compliant with the new regulations. So the biggest ones are good, they are attractive for people, there are thousands of people working on security, but the mid-tier and the low-tier are struggling a lot. And this has implications also on the skill gap that we'll see in a minute. And last but not least, you need to have a good practice for TPRM and cloud compliance measures because these two things coupled together are a cornerstone of DORA regulation. Skill gap. We have high demand for skilled professionals at all levels in cyber, but in cloud, in Gen AI. So think if you want a person that is able to work on Gen AI for cyber topics. No, you need to have three different skills in one person. It's very difficult. Talent retention is a challenge, and this is more difficult for me than low-tier institution. If you are JP Morgan, you have 5,000 people working in cyber, you are attractive for a young person, no? That is graduate. if you are smaller, you could be probably less attractive for some people, for the most technician, skilled people. The other thing is the burnout. So security operations center people now are dealing with very pressure every day during the weekend because the attacks start on Friday evening or start before you have a vacation. And yes, GenAI promised to relieve, to impact in a good way, and probably this will be true, but we are not there. So we know that there is a problem in terms of burnout of people. And last but not least, skill is not only for the operating people. Board and C-suite, DORA is aimed at elevating the level of cyber resilience. So they want the board to be accountable. Do you know how many board, if you take all the global affairs institutions, have at least one person that has, let's say, IT background? I will give you the statistics, like 15%, okay, of the board. Do you know how many of the board in percentage has some cyber skill? Can you guess? 1.9%. And the majority are in Asia Pacific. So it's something that needs to be, let's say, raised to the next level, okay? Tabletop exercise, threat penetration testing. DORA starts with a good thing. Threat penetration testing with regulator in the white team is for sure a good level to raise the level of awareness. So it's a good way to raise the level of awareness. So this is not only for the operating people. And last but not least, cost pressure. If you look to the investment in security, it's still rising. Gartner estimated 80% of the company around the world. If you ask to the CTO or CIO, security, 80% they say we are a rising investment. Okay, this is fine. And Gartner estimate this is with a growth of 14% in the 2024. 60% if you look to Europe. So DORA has an impact, at least 2 point in percentage. But the problem is there is a fragmentation in the vendor market. So how you can have a sustainable way of looking to cyber? And when I talk to CISO, they told me, oh, we need the best of breed. We cannot do vendor consolidation. Then you talk with the CIO, and the CIO will tell me, why I need to have 40 or 80 different platforms? Why my CISO continue to ask for having different best of breed? So it's not sustainable for us. So we need to rethink a bit the cost strategy. And we need to think how we can shift towards embedding security more versus the business. So shift left or be ready to talk to the business of customer trust, how security is increasing the level of trust for customer, how is reducing the churn rate in terms of people that want to stay with that bank. And then the emphasis is on defining a sourcing strategy. So you can understand where you put your people, if you want to upskill or reskill, if you want a part that is manager security services. So you need to have a comprehensive view and holistic view. So this is my presentation. It's only to set the scene for the people that will come next. I hope that you will enjoy the next panelist. Thank you.
I would like to welcome Emmanuel and Ndiaye. I hope I pronounced it correctly. You told me it is going to be about the marathon, not the sprint. And I learned that tomorrow will be your 8th year at the world, right? So that's 8th year. So that's always what you choose. 8th year can be a marathon, not a sprint. So well done for that, and we look forward to becoming it this time. Thank you very much. There might be the mute button. The mute button might be on, and otherwise I give you mine. No, I'll give you mine. Thank you very much. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Fine. Thank you very much. So my name is Emmanuel. I'm the group CISO of Degroof Petercam. Joined the bank for almost 8 years now. So we'll be. What I would like today to share with you is our journey. So we started our journey in 2017 when we are Degroof Petercam merging with Degroof merging with Petercam, and at that time we started our transformation. And as Eva mentioned, the transformation was not just about digital, but also embedded with IT security. So the goal was also to make sure that we can today share what we did and where we are today. If I look on the current landscape, just to make in line, to be in line with Fabio, we see that in 2024 we have 2 new tech global risks. The AI is there now, and we have the cybersecurity, so the cyber attack, which is on the top 5 risks that might have a material risk on the organizations.
This is not new. I think people are getting more and more aware of the risk of cybersecurity. We have AI that could be a nice business enabler, but if it is wrongly used, if it is not under control, AI can be also a huge impact, because we know that hackers are still using AI. So we need also to make sure that we are ready on our side, and we see it. So the goal would be also to make sure that we keep control on our data, our customer data, making sure that we are not too late against the hackers, because they are well organized, they are, let's say, new technology, distributed technology, and the goal also to make sure that we have all those technology that we could also keep control on our customer data. Here we have some issues. Let's say our mission is to protect the customer data from what? From theft, from data loss, from unauthorized access, fraud. We have insiders also, more and more. In the past, we were thinking about the bad guys are from outside, but we know that also insiders are there. We need to make sure that we can cover them. And all those things have to be done to make sure that we keep control of our data, despite all the issues, let's say the new challenge we have. First challenge will be sophisticated attacks. We know that now cyber attacks are being more and more sophisticated. Phishing, social engineering, Fabio did this about that. We cannot rely now on the, let's say, the quality of the email phishings. They are now well written. So we know that also they are using more advanced technology. We have architecture that are complex. I think here on the FinTechs, we all, at least we have on Azure, on GPC, or in cloud, but most of the time we still have our legacy applications on-prem. So architecture being complex, we have a lot of integration. Even mentioned it when we decided to start our journey. We were also relying on third parties, so we have a lot of integration. APIs can be a good enabler, but API wrongly configured can be also source of data leakage. How do we make sure that we cover that? Access to data, data being accessed from everywhere. Since COVID, we are remote working. Our data are not centralized in one single. So challenge will be also to make sure that we know where our data are and how do we make sure that they are controlled. A new technology, we discussed about that, AI. I would step back to the, I'll go back to the lack of skills. With the lack of skills, we know that cybersecurity, for example, at Degroof Petercam, we were looking for a colleague for more than 18 months to find someone to join our team. So it's very, very difficult to find someone. And we are not talking about the board, the skill at board level, but technically speaking, skills on cybersecurity is very, 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 very difficult. And then on top of that, we know that today most of people are there for DORA. So DORA is adding also some constraint. But if DORA is well used, DORA could be also a challenge. So opportunities. So the goal is also to highlight some opportunities we can share with you as a bank, as FinTechs, and what do we expect as a bank from a FinTech when we have new collaboration. Someone said, you have to know your enemies. You have to know your landscape. So at the bank, when we start at the time, we try to identify our landscape, and at the end, make sure that we know all the risks that are inherent to our business. And then based on that, we say, how do we assess ourselves? How do we make sure that using framework, this framework could be a customized framework. At the bank, we decided at the time to have a customized framework, meaning that list of our controls are coming from, some controls are coming from ISO, some are coming from the NIST, some are coming from the CSA, but there is no one wide framework. So you need to know where you are, what are the risks inherent to your business, and then what would be the right framework for you. For example, if you are working fully in the cloud, fully developing, the Cloud Security Alliance could be a good framework for you. If you are doing, let's say, infrastructure that are on-premise, if you are working only on the infrastructure, the CIS top 18 is already something to start with them. But at the bank, we decided at that time to make sure that we customize everything and we have a subset of controls coming from every framework. And based on that, what do? We need to make sure that we know where we are. So we assess ourselves against the controls that will be coming from the framework. I used to use this one to explain the cybersecurity. For me, every control we will have on our IT control framework is a piece of this one. So the idea would be, are we there? Are we still missing controls? Sometimes we have a control, but the control is not effective. So we need to put it on the right level. And then knowing where we are, we can decide what is the gap to reach our appetite. One specific element is the fact that we have different business, we have different objectives. So we cannot have the same level of activity. We will make sure that we know where we are and we decide our strategy to be there. And the strategy will depend on different risk, the risk exposure, different environment, which control we already have, where do we are we in the cloud, are we on-prem, do we have a hybrid infrastructure? And based on that, if we know where we are, altogether we can decide which parts do we need to get our risk appetite. And then again, there is no wrong strategy. If you have a look on this one, people can use the way they would like to reach the risk appetite. Based on what? Based on business objective. Based on what? Based on the threat landscape. Based on what? Based on the budget. Based on the skills. Based on the timeline. All those different elements will make sure that we have our customized way to reach our risk appetite. It's right, there is no wrong strategy, but the strategy will not work if you don't have a strong strategy from the senior management, which we have at the bank. If we don't have a clear commitment on the risk appetite, because if people are trying to reach this, and we know at the bank maybe our appetite will be there, maybe we are having cost issues because we are over engineering. So if we know where we want to be, and there is a clear communication on the focus, on the priority, and we have the right skills there, then we can easily reach our appetite. And again, what I say, think big, start small, and grow fast. So that's what we did at the bank, and we try step by step to get there and reach our. If I just summarize, it's not a. So we see here, if we just put it on the same way, in 2017 we were there, and we identified several initiatives, and those initiatives was implemented. And year per year, what we do, we assess our landscape, our total landscape, we reflect it on our control, and based on that, we have a gap analysis, we define roadmap, and we try to deliver them. So it's a continuous improvement. It's not a one shot. You need to make sure that we know where we are, in which, let's say, what is our threat landscape, in which sector we are evolving, and how we make sure that we can measure our view on our control, test them. If you have issues, remediate, and have the transparent reporting towards the management, which is key, because there we make sure that we have their support, and we need for budget. If we need for budget, we have the support from them. And at the end, so it's not it's a never-ending story. Let's make sure that we have what is required and how we make sure that step by step we plan, we act, plan, do, and check. If you make the link with DORA, we at the bank, Degroof Petercam, what do we expect when we work from a FinTech?
It's perfect now.
Hello?
Testing. We're going to use your voice.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So, at Degroof Petercam, if you work with fintechs, because we work with fintechs, we have some collaboration with fintechs, what do we expect? I divide it in three categories. The first one is data privacy. Yes. So, following GDPR, I think I will make happy some lawyers here. So make sure that GDPR, we have the requirement of GDPR, encrypt our data, but active data at rest in motion, isolate our backup and encrypt them, because isolating backup that if they are not encrypted, that could lead to data leakage somewhere, but isolate them, encrypt them. And make sure that we support at least one smart authentication mechanism. That is at least something that could help us to keep control on our data. In terms of vulnerability management, implementing a patch management process. Make sure that our development lifecycle, so your development lifecycle, entire development lifecycle, security is embedded. Security by design. It's not an option. Make sure that they are there. Training employees. We talk about insiders. We talk about privileged accesses. So make sure that those people know the responsibility when they are accessing, when they are processing customer data. They know what could go wrong. And if they know that, they maybe apply the best practices. Regularly perform pen testing on the critical or exposed application. Sometimes we face some issues with partners because the main focus they have is how the application is working, functionalities, features, and at the end we forgot the pen testing. And it's very difficult from a CISO point of view if the application will go live in 1 week or in 2 weeks, and we are providing a no-go because the pen test was not delivered. So the earlier IT security is involved in the process, we make sure that we keep control. We can provide our requirement, but at least we can also make sure that all the requirements are taken into account. On the operational point of view, incident management is key, and I think DORA will also stating. We have monitoring and the logging capabilities. Sometimes we forget, and when there's an issue, we say, who can have a look on the logs? We don't have the logs. And then we know that our incident management process will take too long because we are now basing all our process in, let's say, not in the factory because we don't have the logs. So making sure that we have monitoring and the logging active will also help us. We discussed about the backups. Having the backups, yes. Are they encrypted? Yes. But if you cannot test them, it's also a kind of DDoS because you have all your backups that are encrypted, but you cannot use them. So you DDoS yourself. So make sure that you test your backup and have it in line with the business impact analysis, the BI. Last but not least, that could ease our due diligence when you work with FinTech. If you have ISO certification with the statement of applicability, because sometimes you have to ISO. Are you certified ISO? Yes. In which scope? It's a scope that is not in line with the project. So make sure that if you have the statement of applicability, which is in line with the project, it will ease our job. So that report is also something that we love seeing, and that helps us also to make sure that we have a certain level of maturity. For the DORA point of view, our challenge after executive buying, I think we all know that management is not always onboarded when it comes to cybersecurity, when it comes to resiliency. So make sure that we have them onboarded. There is a huge work that needs to be done on having the inventory of all our critical third parties. I think sometimes we underestimate the load, but we have a huge effort to do to make sure that we identify them. Make sure also we have the resilience capability, so disaster recovery. Most of the companies, they are doing one use case of disaster recovery. Data center A is down, we will bring up everything in data center 2. It's not enough anymore. So we need also to make sure to focus on use cases where the likelihood is most relevant. So having one data center down, yes, we can do it, but we need to make sure that we have those use cases in line with our visit. And also making sure that we report in a timely manner and a transparency to the regulator. So those are challenges for me for DORA, but on the other hand, we have opportunities. So DORA also can help us because it will bring holistic approach on the IT risk management. It's not several teams working in silo. We'll have one single company knowing what is the critical function of my company, what are the applications underlining, what are the system underlining. So everything will be in line, business impact analysis, but also the underlying part of the infrastructure. DORA is doing harmonizing, so we make sure that if you follow all, let's say, the requirement in terms of data privacy, we will also add some extra control on the customer data. And for the first time, we have this kind of regulators where we have cybersecurity, business continuity, and IT continuity service in the same regulations. Any questions? Yeah?
We're going to take the questions at the end, but go ahead. No, because you're our host, you are allowed to one question. Well, the other speakers do not get this privilege. You get it, you need to host us next time. There you go.
Thank you, Toon. Thank you, Emmanuel. My name is Willem Lamprecht. Our clients are common challengers in technology. So people trying to sell to banks like yourself. What do you recommend to them to get your attention, your time, and your willingness to talk to them?
It's a sales question.
You open the floor to that now.
When we put aside all the sales topics, for me, what is important here is to make sure that the FinTech that would collaborate with Degroof Petercam, okay, is not about functionalities. It's not about making sure that we have a nice UI, we have a nice, let's say, integration capabilities. For me, what is key for me is the making sure that we have the hygiene, cybersecurity hygiene, so the minimum required to make sure that we have control on the customer data. At the end of the day, we need to make sure that the business can work, but in a secure way. That's my goal. So enabling the business, but in a secure way, making sure that data integrity is there, confidentiality is there, but also availability. So if we have those third parties that can provide us confidence, that provide us, let's say, clear facts that they are compliant with minimum control framework that we can also assess, then we can feel comfortable to start working with them. But most of the time, it's just talking about the sales, talking about features, talking about functionalities, talking about nice UI. But at the end, the most important thing is how we make sure that we control our data. So if you can show those evidences, I'm happy to work with you.
Super, thanks. Our next speaker is already announced from NViso. I can see it's probably, it's not probably, it is the most reputed Belgian cybersecurity firm. He doesn't mind me saying that. And I'll let you now earn this title, right? So here goes the estafette.
Serious pressure here. Yeah. So I don't have any slides. Vincent, indeed, one of the co-founders of the company. We're a Belgian-based cybersecurity consulting firm. And the perspective I was going to bring is rather the perspective of the smaller businesses, right? Because you've got all these compliance requirements, it's all very nice, but a small business also has to be somewhere competitive, innovative, hire talents, all these things. How do you combine both? That's not easy. That's the question that we get asked when we help medium-sized companies. We have in our portfolio quite a few companies where we do similar as a service. And the first thing we do is we talk about risk. Now that sounds maybe a bit of a common sense answer, and that's not where I think I'll just drop the mic and try to go for everyone. So
go ahead.
Risk, it's a word you find, I think, 340 times in the DORA regulation, right? And what does risk mean? It means that basically you have to make choices based on risk. That sounds very easy. It's not that easy. Because first of all, what is a relevant risk to your organization? That's the first question we ask. And I can tell you it's a question we ask ourselves as well. Because we are a provider to financial services institution. We are ISO 27001 since 2017. I can already tell you that I don't think it will be enough for a long time. I think that SOC 2 is the next step. I'm not looking forward to it. It will cost us 4 times as much. It will cost us much more time. It's something that really adds little value to the business, but that we need to do business. It's a business enabler. I'll come back to that afterwards. But my point is, the risk-based approach is, of course, what you have to go for, and it's not evident. We just started with a client not so long ago. They had a roadmap that was defined by a big consulting firm, and based on the roadmap, the top priority was insider threat. That means someone within your organization, right, that wants to exfiltrate data, steal data, hurt you, make you unable to work, something like this. First of all, it's not an easy threat to counter. To do it, you have to deploy quite some advanced, expensive, complex security controls, identity and access management, a topic which I can tell you costs a lot of money and is very difficult to implement. Measures like data leakage prevention, where often it costs you a lot of money and the results are not very impressive. In the meantime, if you look at industry reports, you see that inside the threat, it represents a very small portion of cyber attacks, because the most cyber attacks that you see come actually from cyber criminals. And cyber criminals in that strategy was the fourth most important threat out of 5. To be honest, I just don't buy it. I think that the most important thing, the most likely thing to happen to them is a cyber attack by a cyber criminal group. And maybe it doesn't have the most impact, but actually I would challenge you on that and I will tell you it will. These guys have plenty of servers that are exposed to the internet, they're not being patched, they're not being kept up to date, which means that they're vulnerable to attacks. Something like this should be definitely a reason to act. That was something they were going to work on after 19 months. 19 months. So what I'm saying is, risk-based is important. First of all, you have to understand what your risks are. You probably need to look at industry reports for this. It will help you to make better choices, because at the end, we will need to make choices. When we come to a customer and we make a list of all the security improvements you need to make, there is basically enough to consume budget for the next 10 years. No problem. No problem. So what choices do you make, right? Do you choose to implement a data leakage prevention system for a threat which is probably not so high for you, or do you invest in enabling patching of your systems, which is not easy, because it probably means that you need to replicate certain systems so that you can patch server 1 while server 2 is still running in case it breaks, that sort of thing. So it's a big investment, but at the end, it's probably a better investment. So risk-based approach is the way a small company has to approach it. It sounds simple. Again, it requires common sense. Don't let only lawyers and compliance people tell you what the priorities are, but you should definitely listen to them. Because in all of this, unfortunately, you don't really have a choice. There's a certain number of measures that you need to implement because it's in the text. Or because if you don't have it, it will be very hard to demonstrate to the Degroof Petercam that actually you are secure, that actually you're taking security seriously. Take, for example, an incident response plan. The incident response plan with templates to notify the authorities and so on, will it prevent an incident from happening? Will it actually help you to respond to the incident? No, it won't. But in the meantime, if you don't have it, it will be harder to convince that when an incident comes, you are prepared. So at the end, you have to invest in documentation. What we do there, and that's the second thing, we try to apply the 50-50 rule. Now, it's very good on paper, very difficult to do in practice, but at least we put it on the table and then we have discussion based on that. And the idea is, for every euro that I have to spend on documentation for compliance, I'd like to spend €1 on an actual security measure that has an impact to prevent or to respond to cyber attacks. In practice, we don't always get there, but at least you set the rules from the start and you have an interesting discussion. So that's the number 2 principle we try to put on the table, 50-50. Okay? And then, of course, the third thing is that the best reason to do cybersecurity is your customer. Actually, I will take here a slippery road with a comparison. I'm 40 years old. I'm still happily married. Many of my friends are divorced. They don't look like me. They are fit. They are looking well. They're well dressed. In other words, everything I'm not, because they're on the market. And that's the best incentive to act. It's the best incentive to act. The moment you do cybersecurity, because you need to find customers, you're going to get your entire organization behind you. I have no customer that chose to do ISO 27001 because they thought it was sexy and it was going to be interesting. It's boring. Who wants to have an ISO 27001 certification? No one. I don't. I could live without it perfectly, and my cybersecurity would be probably even better for it, which here is a bit of an overstatement, but I think you understand what I'm saying. Same thing on the SOC 2 thing. But if I did not invest in ISO 27001 back in 2017, I would have lost many tenders. I would not have gone into a series of projects. And probably today, I would have a much harder time to reassure my customers that I take security seriously. And that's why the next step, because we started to manage security services 3 years ago, so we actually do a SOC. It means that in a security operation, so you collect the logs of a customer, you analyze them, you give recommendations. You can imagine it's a lot of sensitive data. ISO 27001 very soon will not cut it anymore. It's just a certificate. It's a 5-7 days audit, something like that. The certificate doesn't say much. The SOC 2 report, on the other hand, you've got all the controls. Behind it, you've got the actual assessments that have been done by professional auditors. These guys have taken a sample of everything. I can tell you the level of scrutiny is something else. I will need it because if I don't have it, I will not be able to do business anymore, or I will not be able to do the business I want. So my point is that when your incentive to do security is your customer, of course, you've got a traction that is unparalleled. So that's the 3 things I can say about how do you balance, I would say, compliance with remaining competitive. First of all is to take a risk-based approach, and be careful about bullshit, bullshit alert. Then the second one is the 50-50 principle. Try to balance the investment you do in compliance with the investment for actual security. The best investment you can do is the one where you never need to use your instant response procedure, because that's always a very painful moment when you have to explain it. And then, of course, the third one is to try to find what your customers want and to drive your security efforts based on this, because it's always a very, very good motivation. And most of the companies who help with on DORA in the medium-sized companies are companies that are not directly subject to DORA. They do DORA because their customers said, by the way, we have to be DORA compliant. Here's the menu, please respond. That's what happens. So that is what I want to say. Thank you. Thank you.
Our next speaker, I'm going to is Annelore Lenoir. So please come up here. You are also going to talk about the fight from the trenches in getting that painful ISO 27001 certification.
Yes.
I am going to try, because we keep the microphone for that after a certain amount. That works now. So.
Okay. Hello, everybody. My name is Annelore. I am a DPO at Docbyte since 2018. At Docbyte, we help our customers meet their regulatory requirements and save costs regarding trust services, information processing, and digital archiving. We have several certifications. We are 27001 certified since 2020, also 9001, and since last year we are a qualified trust service provider for long-term preservation. I'm going to talk about our journey for the 27001 certification. So before you start, do not underestimate the effort, the cost, and the strain it puts on your team. There is a lot of effort. There is a team that you have to compose. There is a person that you have to appoint to control everything. The cost is also there, that we have a team that is working full-time on the ISO certifications, and it puts also a strain on your team because it's imposing a different way of working for your team. They have less freedom in their work, so for some of them it's very, very hard to change. It's a change procedure that is in your company. So why did we do the certification? Because of our customers. We work for highly regulated customers, so we needed our certification. We also wanted to become a QTSP, so a qualified trust service provider, and so we said, okay, let's start with the 27001 certification and see where we get to see if we are ready for the QTSP certification. And security is also a part of our value proposition as we provide trust services. So security is a very important part of trust services. So what steps did we take? We consulted first an external consultant. So he started with the as-is situation, what documentation did we have, what processes were implemented, and then he went to the to-be situation, so what documents needed to be processed, written, what procedures needed to be implemented. And there we found out that we didn't have to start from scratch, that there was already a lot of documentation and procedures within the company. What we did was define the scope definition. That is very important. You have to know very clearly what you want to secure. Like for instance, for us, it was our cloud platform. That is the base of our solution. So that is what we wanted to get certified. Then we appointed a team with an internal owner, which is also very important. It's important for that person to be very procedure-driven, to be very blue, if I may say so. And the last thing we did was to choose a conformity assessment body. So you have the difference between an accredited one and a non-accredited one.
Time's up. Good to see. Your time is not up. If I can
get a certified microphone.
Otherwise,
We're back in
speakers-
business. We're back in business.
Okay. So you have an accredited one, you have accredited ones and non-accredited ones. We started with a non-accredited one, but as we were going for the PTSD certification, we changed into an accredited one because we need them to be recognized by the fourth economic, for instance. We have some lessons learned. You have to be aware that you start with the top and work your way down. Start with the scope definition, and then the procedures, then the processes, then the people that you will assign to them, and then the tools and the systems that you will use. What is also very important is that you select a CAP that understands your business, because if he doesn't understand your business, he will dive into the documentation more than in the business. So he has to understand the business. And what we also learned was that it is important, as our language everything was written in English, it is important that your CAP knows English as well. And also know that it's a full-time effort. It doesn't start and end with, okay, I'm certified now, everything is okay. No, you have your pen testing, which we do with NViso. You have your controls, you have your monitoring, you have your loggings, you have your awarenesses of your people that you have to train, you have your onboardings, you have your internal audits that you also perform. So it's quite there's a big effort that you have to put in it. There's also some pitfalls. First of all, you have to document the reality, not what you want it to be, because if you get audited, you have to be able to show what you have written and show that the procedures that you have implemented, that they reflect your documentation, that you're actually doing the things that you said you were going to do. Avoid complex tools and solutions to support the process. Just keep it simple. There's all kinds of solutions on the market which are sometimes very complex, but just keep it simple. And also, detail is the devil. Don't go too much into detail in your documentation. Like, for instance, be careful with versioning. Like what we did was we used LastPass as a vault, and then there was the attack, so we changed it to Bitwarden. But in our documentation, we had put LastPass instead of digital vault. So we don't use too much details. So there's an impact on the team, as I said. There's a restriction on the way of working. We have lost people because of it, because they were not able to cope with the change. Like we have restrictions on the laptops. We are not able to download, to install software. Everything has to be done by an external company who only can install the programs that are allowed by our security officer. It's a continuous effort, as I told you, and there's a high cost coming with it. And you have to make sure that management is also involved, because they are involved in the audit themselves. And they also they have to approve. The board has to approve every document that is written. So make sure that management is involved. Customer effects, of course, it creates for us new opportunities. We can work for customers that are where ISO certification is mandatory. Security checklists. We had hoped that the security checklists would go away, but that's a bummer. We still have to fill out all kinds of security lists. Although we say, okay, we are ISO 27001 certified, but okay. And another effect is sometimes the security of the customers themselves, because we mostly work in a more secure way than our customers. They are becoming a risk for us instead of us as a supplier being a risk for them. So in the end, would we do it again? Yes, of course, because we have no choice. There's DORA, there's NIS2, there is our QTSP. If it were possible, maybe not, because for us as a small company, it costs a lot and it's very time consuming, but it's worthwhile. So, and then I want to say it's also possible for small companies too. Okay,
Just
finish.
continue.
Let's
That's
finish.
good.
No,
Yeah.
I'm finished. So that's it.
Joeri Van Speybroek is next up. I just replaced batteries. This is our high availability plan, so thank you for providing them. We're gonna see if this is gonna be.
Normally I have quite a loud voice, so normally.
Everything is taken off. I'm not even gonna try it.
No, yes. Otherwise you have like differences in
Very
volume.
good, very good, very good. Everybody, you can put in those protective earplugs.
So yeah, good evening everybody. So I'm closing up, let's say, the
You get a picture.
sessions. Yeah, that would make sense. So yeah, what's the intention of me today? So I'm a solution architect within Dell Technologies. So I'm a technical guy. So I like to come and get a sales guy come and sell some stuff. So I'm more in the back end, which is solution architect. It's just a new name for our pre-sales. We are the technical conscious of our sellers. We try to translate what they try to sell to something that can make or can be a reality. So what I'm trying to do today is just to give you a bit of background, because I'm focused on the FSI market, on the enterprise segment. So I'm mainly covering, let's say, the bigger financial institutions in Belgium, but all of them have small companies behind them. And all of them are working also with small partners, which need to, let's say, go to the group standard, but they just cannot. It doesn't make sense. Like mentioned today, risk profile, also judge budget, what is feasible from a, let's say, person point of view. How many people are working in IT and can support all of these things? So that's my idea here, to quickly go across these. Okay. No, it's turned on. So why Dell? Just to be here, I also need to just make a little bit of promotion. And why it really is important for Dell, it's next to sustainability, which is really a hot topic on our side, security, because we are everywhere. So if you look here, yeah, think about it. Now we're talking about financial risk, about risk of impact on the economy. But think if you're in a hospital, probably some of the kit around will also be Dell material, in OEM or native, which means that it's quite important for us from a supply chain point of view, or just from the configuration, from, let's say, the factory up to the deployment or the usage, that we are really aligned with security. And this is also really key to us, which is quite important. And if you think about it, it's also mentioned Corona. You cannot have one event without mentioning Corona now. It changed the world. It was good business for us, but it also changed the way how we use things. But we also use it from anywhere at any time. And think about what happened a lot with us is people could not go and get, because in the end, the first thing of Dell, what you think about is a laptop. People could not just get to the office and get their new laptop. So we had to rethink about how can we get the image of the laptop, the image of that company on the laptop, and not ship it to the office, because people cannot go to the office, but ship it to their home. Then integrate it from a security point of view that it can be used. And then knowing that many people that use the laptop are not IT people. Because we always think like, oh yeah, it's useful. Yeah, it didn't make sense, just click next. No, we make people afraid of clicking next. Because it can be something bad if you click next. Yeah. So you see the challenges facing that. And that's more talking the client side. Of course, we have the same challenges in the data center, let's say on the enterprise side. So if you think about, we can never show this picture because it looks that we are very complex. But the reality is that we have a lot of solutions. And thinking about DORA, many of them hold data. Many of them need to be secured. And it can be your most crucial crown jewels that can be somewhere in one of these black boxes with a nice logo on top of it. But they are spread around everywhere. And we already said, like today, it can now be in your data center. It can be on that portable device somewhere across the globe. It can be in a public cloud. It can be in a hybrid setup somewhere. And that's really also your, let's say, challenge with the new regulations is, where is my data? You need to know where it is before you are able to protect it. And then you can start having all those fancy functions and features of all those devices. It's unmanageable. So sometimes, and I hate it as a technical guy, but you need to say it's good enough. Because if you want to have the Ferrari and the Porsche of each solution for everything that you want to do, it's all nice, but it's unmanageable. Because you will need to support hundreds of vendors with products which are very shiny, but how do we really? So what do we do a lot at customers is also to standardize. And from a marketing point of view, we're in everything the best. From a technical point of view, sometimes we are good enough. And that makes sense because we still sell that thing. Because we can offer, let's say, that one point of control, that one point of lifecycle management. Because I don't know who said it, patching. Most of my customers, knowing that I cover, let's say, the big MSI customers, 60, 70, 80%, and they have hundreds of IT people, they spend on finding patch windows, patching, and follow up zero-day exploit, etc. So even for them, it's a challenge. So if you think about smaller companies, fintechs, etc., it's nearly impossible. And then you again need to accept a little bit of risk, because it's also, let's say, the availability, which is also potentially impacted by patching. So I like this slide, because this is an easy way of something which is very difficult. It's just trying to picture out what is so easy about DORA. Just you need to know what business process runs which business activity, it's controlled or it's communicated with which type of applications, and which infrastructure it is running. Should be easy. You would expect that everybody just knows this. I can say that many of my customers call this the spaghetti, because it's all talking to everything what they think. So nobody really is able to just simply draw this, because it is just a complex thing. And I hope if you're small, it should be easy, but the bigger you get, the more complex these things are to draw them out. So I love APIs. I think everybody got that. I can tell you that many people I now talk to hate APIs. Because in the past, you had your legacy application, which was quite easy. It just was one in, one out. Now it's coming from everywhere, and it's going everywhere. And that really creates funny schedules, funny things, how they try to map it. Then you have a lot of tools, very expensive tools that can help you try to map it. And then someone writes something in this nice, fancy CI/CD pipeline, and it's all changed again. Okay, it's now talking another way around, they put something in between. So you really need to automate testing, automate also your documentation. Because if you don't automate those parts, you will always be lacking behind, and you will put too much effort in making that happen. So hybrid is the way to go, and everybody here is hybrid. Even though if you think I'm full public cloud, you will be hybrid. You will be have some devices somewhere which hold data only in that device, which is not synced up anywhere. So consistency is key, and that's a bit the thing where we try to aim at all of our customers. Is trying to find a way to control it, to report on it, because next to the documentation to be automated, the reporting also needs to be automated. And sometimes we have nice solutions, which are very good, but they are very crappy in reporting. And I always ask them, how are we going to prove? And you all know probably the regulators, more or less, they're not technical. So how do you prove a not super technical guy something very technical that you're really doing fine? And you need to be very consistent also in providing that evidence. So we're not going to talk about DORA today, and normally I never can present in 10 minutes, but I will do my best to just go really fast. But it's just too much also. Again, size. What type of customer, what kind of article you want to comply with. What I always do is just the easy way, have a discussion as is, to be, and just look what are we missing here. And again, like you explained also, it's a journey. You cannot go from left to right in one day, in 1 year. You will really need to prepare. And I think also, with all the interaction I had with regulators, they don't expect you to do that. But they expect you to explain how you will get there. And they expect you that you explain the progress you are making. They also understand that not everybody can do it from one day to the other. But you need to have a plan, and you need to follow the plan. If you don't follow the plan, then it can be a less nice meeting with them. So DORA, again, I just added this slide also in terms of information, because what I really like about it, budget, that's again for the sellers. I do have to say that it's a bit like backup. In the past, if we had backup, nobody wanted to spend money on it until they needed it. Same with this. Now, the good thing is this is everywhere around. I have people in my family who got encrypted. And then they call you because, you know something about IT. Can you fix it? So, because everybody is aware of the risk. Not everybody, but most of them understand and are aware of the risk. Budget is less of a problem. I do see that if you can really map what you will do with it and how it will solve some of the challenges, you can get there. because people understand the risk in the end. But also explaining one of the sessions today, the third-party risk management is very difficult, because that's why simplification, simplifying, centralizing things is very crucial, because the more parties you work with in your data stream, the more complex it gets to also control it, because they change something and you need to follow up, you need to validate. What we do everything. That's Dell. So, but what we really do in Belgium and Luxembourg is we collaborate. In every customer situation, like also this morning, I was in a very small, let's say, insurance subsidiary of one of the big banks in Belgium. It's just, my first thought is, which are your partners? What products are you using? Let's collaborate. We are too small to then try to say like, oh, we're going to replace and sell something to then fix the wider picture. It's very important that you map what are your vendors, what are your partners, what are the partners you trust, and then try to plan together. Bit also explained by Degroof and Petercam. It's really crucial because you will need to make choices and strategically work towards an endpoint. And it will be a journey. It's not something I will buy something today and now everything is solved. That does not exist in this situation. So this is the way, and again, these are decks of 500 slides. So feel free, if you want them, I can get them. But just so you know, this is very crucial that in every step, and like you also presented, do the mapping and review how you can improve and what actions or measures you should take. Because this is just, and then I will end up.
Yes, you got the cue right.
But create a good run book. And I can say you 2 weeks ago, we did a cyber test, so a yearly cyber test at one of the big financial institutions, and we failed. And that's good. And that's the reason why I think a good cyber security firm should have failed a lot. Because it's by those failures that you found out, okay, because of this we failed, how can we now remediate the next time be successful? Because the first time you will fail. And here we test for 4 months, almost 5 months. And the reason why we failed is that the network isolation was a little bit different between the tests and the real production. And it gave a different end result somewhere in the stack, which the procedure was invalid. And since we needed to follow the procedure, it failed. Because we could not, on the spot, you cannot start freewheeling. You need to follow the procedure at the time. So that's it. Again, proposed approach. Just know that reporting, that's the last thing. One before last thing. I'm going to say.
For somebody that in sales, you're really good at it.
Just from a reporting point of view, there also, if you have, I'm again going to say from a technical point of view, my ask to a customer is not, do you have budget? That's a sales problem. My ask to a customer is, do you have a project? You have an internal project where people can book hours, to spend hours on it. Because that's maybe my challenge, is get people to work on it to make progress. The budget is also sometimes a problem, that's someone else's problem. So also from a reporting point of view, do know you have a lot of people here, you have a lot of fintechs that can help you get away with that burden. Externalize it, things like that. You can really help to ask help, and that your people focus on the good stuff, the fun stuff. Otherwise, they will get into a burnout because they have to write too much documentation on saying what they did do. So that's it. Go ahead and let's say go to the different phases. And I just added this slide. Why? Because a lot of things are talking about a vault. Please, a vault is not just a system that you buy. So that's my last message, I promise. Just initially everybody was going to the market. Here I have a solution and I will vault your data and everything is fine, you're fine. Do know that the vault is much more than just a physical location of your data. So be careful in going to that journey. Again, have a project, allocate sufficient resources to it. Thanks a lot.
We're going to invite all the speakers. Oh, you can stay up here. You were a speaker, absolutely. You can share more. There you go. Please all take a seat. We haven't done assignation, so I will let you choose. I will ask you to be in the middle. Thank you very much. The way this works for those of
you, how do you ensure today in your third-party risk management process that basically your third parties are, covering all these requirements that can sometimes be conflictual from DORA to ISO and GDPR? Do you have an integrated framework? How do you manage that?
We are still struggling with those kind of, let's say, data acquisition. We still rely on the diligence we do with our partners, questionnaires that we share with them. It's also, who is referring to us a long list of questions that we need to also to make sure that we have the answer. And then at the end, we always organize kind of deep dive session. But it always resides or remains the kind of first interaction we have with them. So based on what has been written on the question, based on the deep dive we have with them, we also have our DPO sitting next to us, making sure that we have the recommend of the DPO strategy. So we need to make sure that we find the right balance with operations.
Next question. You can keep the microphone and pass it to whoever it's addressed to. So everybody knows if you don't ask questions, he's gonna come up with a whole lot of them. So please help me in making this the last question.
Thank you, Tony. Yes, I'm a professional question asker. So with an object, the question I have is, I read not so long ago that a big part of security issues, leaks and alike, have been caused not by technology problems, but by
Can you come back to Vincent? So the certification, ISO certification, maybe it's not. If you say, would we do that? Maybe not. By the way, we are not certified. But the fact that we are doing this documentation, documenting our process, making sure that they exist, we make sure that people know what they do in case of issues. And then at the back, for example, for human errors, we have what we call a cyber action. Every action from a 90 point of view is being done through cyber. So there is no IT guy at the bank that has direct access to our server. So even if there is an issue, we have all the movies, the videos. So I'm not fond of having a view on everything that has been recorded for our colleagues. But if there is an issue, we can rapidly also have a look on what occurs on the system, and we can easily do a kind of rollback. This is what we have also in kind of recovery controls that is there. But on a documentation point of view, if every process is documented and people know what they have to do, if there is an issue, they know also what to do for kind of rollback, then we minimize the human error. And then the automation. So we have a lot of activities where we can automate. Automating meaning also we have standards, and having standards meaning also that if we do the same action 1,000 times, we can expect the same results at the end. But if we start doing manual activities, then we introduce a new risk, which is the human errors. So automation, if you can automate, if you have the capability to automate, then go for that.
Please pass the mic onto your right side, and thanks for that great answer. So, Vincent, what would be from your perspective as a provider of security services? How do you see the rise of this?
What I like about your answer, Emmanuel, is that you're not trying to blame the user, right? You're not going to send him 100 phishing mails and if he clicks one, he's fired, because I understand why we do that, but let's face it, technology is a very convincing answer. So to avoid errors, I mean, take, for example, the matter of phishing. The first thing you can do is to try to prevent more phishing mails to come in, to give more clues to the user about the fact that maybe that's a suspicious mail. And then what is phishing after? Well, very often it's about stealing your credentials or having you open a malicious attachment to the virus, right? So you can take measures so that if something happens on the workstation, not a lot can happen further. It's segmented from the rest. There's a number of preventive controls on the machine. You can also make sure that actually a username and a password is not enough to connect, that you need two-factor authentication. So what am I saying? That technology very much is, I think, the answer to manage the threat, thinking that you're going to be able not to fall for any of the well-crafted attacks from people that are smart and sometimes AI-enabled is, I think, an illusion. Doesn't mean you shouldn't train your users. When one person reports a phishing mail, if your system is already designed, it should be removed from the mailbox from everyone. So it's still a very relevant control, but it's one of the least effective ones, to be very clear. That's my opinion, at least.
You can continue passing on. You get the last. I'm very sorry. But you do get it, right? Keep me up. You mentioned earlier on that now your customers are a risk for you. So if I may translate that question like, okay, they're opening a lot of documents on your platforms and your archive systems. How do you see that risk for Docbyte?
Well, because we are certified and we are audited, and if they don't work in a secure way, that creates risk for us, because then we cannot work in a secure way. So, and what we do is create awareness at our customer sites and also at our people's sites. So.
Great. So, and when you create awareness, that means you inform, you have webinars, you send emails, you test stuff.
Phishing mails, we have our security manager loves making phishing mails.
That quote would be very wrong if we didn't put that one on there, but let's move the mic on now. Thank you very much for that answer.
So first of all, I'd like to present myself. My name is Lars Dahl. I'm a partner at Osborne Clark law firm, and I'm specialized in tech transactions and cybersecurity. So that's why I'm today here. In terms of measures to avoid, let's say, human errors, obviously technology is a factor that significantly decreases, let's say, the possibility of human errors. Obviously, also training. And we see from a regulatory perspective, we see under NIS2, but also under DORA, there's a management responsibility to provide sufficient training to employees. So there's a stronger focus on training, and obviously, when things go south and when an incident occurs and a regulator intervenes, one of the questions that they will ask, if it's human error, the root cause, what was the training that you've given? So in order to reduce your own risk exposure, appropriate training is actually mandatory. So in that respect, it's useful. Right?
Maybe a short reaction to the quote that was given, don't listen to the Lord too much. You listen to them. How does that feel for you? Because you are the one bringing advice to customers. Do you feel you're being listened to or ignored?
Typically, because a large part of my client portfolio are regulated companies, financial institutions,
they have to listen to you.
They have to listen to me because of the fact that the legal teams often go to us because we're industry specialists, and we also need to sign off, for instance, for critical outsourcing, we need to sign off on the file that will be submitted to the National Bank. So it's my responsibility when things go south. So typically it does give you some weight, let's say, and it also enables the legal team, the compliance team to weigh into certain more operational and business teams. So it's like this that we try to create a balance, right?
Fabio, please.
Yeah, I will add a slightly different perspective. So I like the technical, let's say, way to reduce the risk, but I think most things happen for human behavior. I candidly admit that when I joined Accenture after 3 months, I was in a sort of special protection program because I clicked 3 times on a phishing campaign.
I like these confessions tonight, right? Everybody
You know, 25 years that I work in security, so it's because I was busy, I was looking at my phone and was so, okay, what is this? Because it was well tailored. But the point is not this one. The point is after that, this protection program required me to do some more training, okay? And they isolated my email, so I was in a sort of sandbox. So another thing, there are some platforms that enable the technicians to do simulation of cyber crisis or technical things. And then by this platform, you can have specific courses that are tailored to the gaps that they have. So there is an important part that I think is fit the gap, okay, in terms of training awareness. You can do also some technical cyber simulation, not the crisis management tabletop exercise, some more technical cyber simulation. And then you can focus on the soft skill. So how people are interacting or not, if they're acting as silos, if they know what are, let's say, the 360-degree about them. So I think this is an important part that is not only related to technology, but how you implement the program.
Thank you, Fabio. You're being as
you
get a lot of word on this one. Go ahead.
I just want to step in on the comment on automation, because it's just quite funny how for years we have been explaining that automation will indeed reduce human error, which is a fact. Now what I now see at most of my customers, they also see it as a risk. Because if everything is automated, if someone gets in, and we have talked about the insider attack, it also gives them the ability to very quickly have a process to have huge impact. And the main issue that most of them are having is if you want to protect yourself from someone asking money from you, okay, it's bad, but it's manageable, and they still want to give you a return in getting your data back. But many of the big companies, they just want to get hit to drive or to create economic instability. And it's much harder to protect you from that, because they don't care if it cannot be recovered. They just want to hit you and bring you down. And that's why automation is a bit double. So for me, the thing is making sure that you proactively also report on all the actions. But don't go to active. So if you think about to active, just don't talk to your security department. So that means that for every action, 2 or 3 people with a time slot need to accept before it happens. And it looks like, well, it's very secure, but it's unmanageable again. So you really need to find a bit the leverage left or right, what you are willing to do.
I see, Emmanuel, you want to respond to it? I'll let you do it, but everybody start thinking about your question. Or everybody not. Go ahead.
What I would like to add is sometimes we are trying to train our users. If you come to phishing, not knowing what are the threats may, let's say, push us to train users on the topics of the use case where they are not attacked. So if you know which kind of threats, which kind of phishing emails they are receiving, if you know that, then we can customize the kind of training we share with them, because there we provide them some, let's say, tools where they can react the day we have the real phishing technique.
Thank you for that. Next question. Come on. We want this to be interactive. And we still have time on the agenda. So I'm going to keep looking at you until it becomes really awkward. Can you way out of it? Yes, I can. Yes, go ahead.
Are there any subsidies we can get? I mean, I'm for a small company in Blue. Can we get any subsidies for DORA? If I go to the UK for a fair, get some money from France Investment and Trade. Can I get some money from the government?
Maybe I define it. Lio is helping very actively and very heavily smaller companies. Doesn't Lio cybersecurity the building sector. So I recommend that you look into that depending on your size, of course. And they're even now they're actively considering extending that to the NIS2 scope. I think if it's DORA, you should talk to them as well. I don't know how big or small you are, but that's
really heavy grind on Vio, so it's maybe understand our versatile.
Yeah.
I think it's a different envelope, and there's a minister that would very much like that money to be spent. So
No, it's very difficult because I'd rather pay less taxes, no subsidies, but now the opposite. So.
So this is the time to get that done. But
if you pay the taxes, I will go for the subsidy.
Actually, I wanted to say the same thing because Vio is very well renowned. We used to work with Vio a while back on especially cybersecurity trajectories. So I think it's a good opportunity to explore some possibilities with regard to subsidies, because it could really drive down compliance costs, right?
For the people not from Leuven and Flanders, Brussels, do you have answers? Do you know about any programs there?
There are programs for the Walloon and Brussels region, which are far better than, for instance, the LIVE program and the KMO portfolio program. And so in that respect, it is really worth exploring. I have colleagues who are heavily invested in that type of work. So if ever there are questions, feel free to reach out and we'll manage it.
That was a very tough sales pitch. Very well delivered too. Well done, well done. Okay.
So,
go ahead, take the mic, please.
Aide à la consultance, it's between 40 and 60% of the cost, and I think it's the maximum of 25K, that's in Brussels. In Wallonia, it's the chef entreprise around cybersecurity. It's a bit more generous even, but it's focused on small businesses, of course. Whereas the one in Flanders is now being a bit more open.
And knowing 25,000, how much services do you get for that as an SME? Like if I would come with 25 to this, I know you have more corporate, you have more corporate. Like this, you say, yeah, that's a good start, or another.
To give you an idea, pen tests will cost between 10 and 20K. It's a bit like this, so that's more or less the cost. Gap assessment against a security standard, probably the same. So that gives you an idea. Maybe you can also bring some of your.
Yeah, from our perspective, obviously I'm a lawyer, so I'm not going to draft your incident response policies. That's clear. But what we typically do is we draft standard clauses that are in the past EBA, outsourcing guidelines compliant or EOPA compliant. And then from a vendor perspective, we try to come up with a list of clauses that comply with these regulatory requirements, and it enables a provider to have a more easy go-to-market. I know in the beginning of this session there was a question, what do you need to do in order to get an entry ticket to a financial institution? Typically what we do if we try to advise smaller companies, draft a set of clauses and addend them to their own standard contract. And if you come with that type of contract that is already compliant with the regulatory requirements, then typically compliance people, they will be far more receptive. Because at the end of the day, it's either compliance legal or an outside lawyer who will do the check on the compliance, right? So that's a good way to get an entry to
Good news, our web stream just went dead. So can you translate the pricing lines? Can people also come to us? Clark, 25K, or you say that's
no, that's yeah, okay. It's possible.
Anybody else wants to answer to this question?
Go ahead.
You don't need a mic.
Yeah, just one thing, and again, if you look at the projects, it's all about, okay, what can you do yourself? And you need to really collaborate and find to optimize costs. The good thing is about a small, non-complex thing will not cost that much. A very complex thing will cost a lot. So you really need to define also what you want to do, what you want to achieve, and also make sure that you follow up on it. Because I think it is also mentioned during the presentations, doing one a process that really comes back on a regular basis and spend your money wisely on that term. And don't say like, oh, I now got money, I will now do everything and then be compliant, because it does not really work like that.
Sounds like really good advice. We're going to go for another question here. Yes. Please go ahead.
Okay. Hi, I'm Patricia. I'm your vice president. That's the strategic manager. On this evolving part, because that's interesting. It's very interesting because, of course, we see now all this new emerging technology. Of course, Emmanuel already mentioned a few times, we do have AI, but then if we do a little bit of forward thinking, we have quantum that's coming up. And all the lectures I hear, speakers I hear, everything I read. What's your opinion on quantum technology? Because that's going to be one of the major challenges.
Great question. Back to square one. You can throw it all away. Yeah. Who wants to take this one? You had it, so go ahead.
If you imagine in 2011, when we were talking about the SLV3, my point here is the guy who developed the algorithm of SLV3. If you now tell him that SLV2 is not used anymore in companies, I think he won't believe it, because at that time SLV3 was the right algorithm based on what? Based on the capability of our computing. So now we are reaching a new, let's say, a new level. So all the algorithms that are currently developed was thinking about how many processes we have, how many IOPS do we have, and computing will reach the new level, so we need to be ready, making sure that, let's say, we have to believe that all the algorithms we have currently will be obsolete soon. So we need also to prepare ourselves to make sure that once we will get there, we will have new algorithms that can protect us against cloud computing. If we just have a look on the password complexity, we know that since between 2019 and now, password complexity, if you had password complexity of 12 characters with complexity, with a lot of complexity or a lot of special character, it can be cracked in an easy way. So we know that every time algorithms are also being improved based on what? Based on the capability of our processors. So we need to be ready.
Any other speaker want to comment on this?
I have the point on this. Two things on post-quantum cryptography. It could be a complex thing, but you need to think simple. So as Emmanuel said, you need to think, where are the encryption algorithms? In reality, they are in a lot of places. The problem with post-quantum cryptography is not the mathematics or the physics. Is you need to check and to assess where are you using this algorithm.
And why?
The application, who calls what, for that in transit, for application source. So it's huge impact. It's easy probably to check the first 80% and then for Pareto laws, the other 20% requires 80% of the effort. The second point is you need to think about the fact that the algorithm need to be changed probably again and again. So you cannot choose to say, okay, now I will adopt a new algorithm. Probably you need to think about what they call crypto agility architecture. So something that will enable you to then already steal data, encrypt the data, and they will decrypt when the computational power will be enough to decrypt the data. Because some data will have value in 2 years, 1 year's time.
Right. Maybe one last comment on this from my head is talk to your IT department. Because you cannot imagine how many new software tools we see coming in to big accounts because someone in some division bought something, he deploys it, it's fully encrypted, it's all nice, but don't underestimate the impact in your IT landscape because everything in terms of interconnectivity between the sites, etc., is using a lot of compression technology to make things faster, to make less impact. If you start encrypting everything in the front end, all that optimization is no longer happening. So as long as they are aware, they can plan for it. If you just at once start doing it, they cannot really, make sure that they are ready for this kind of impact.
Last question. Koen Steger, colleague from Dell.
I remember one number, I think it was Fabio who said it, 1.9% has cyber knowledge, from the board of directors has cyber knowledge.
So,
that is a very low number, to be honest. And I want to ask the panel, how can you increase this number? Because we're here on this event, and the board of directors is quite important in making decisions. So how can we increase the knowledge and the quick wins?
I could start, and then what's happening is many board of directors are asking to have some cyber awareness training session. And this is good, but probably it's not the best. I think that some dynamic exercise that is difficult to raise to that level, okay, you can do something very special for them, could help understanding better the problem. But I think the real change will be because you need to choose some member of the board that have this type of knowledge. You cannot train a person that is not a cyber expert to become a cyber expert. So it's something that will come with DORA and regulatory pressure. It will become more common. As in IT, the funders are, if I remember well, 15%. But they started some years ago with 1.9% probably. So it will happen in the next years, in the coming years.
Indeed, I think it's very important to have board awareness when it comes to cybersecurity. And we see over the last years, there's a paradigm shift, right? So still today, if we have board discussions, then obviously no one actually really understands what cybersecurity is. However, from a legal perspective, there's an issue of director's liability coming up under DORA, under NIS2, and actually, when things go south as a director and you fail to comply with the requirements, the regulatory requirements, you will have an issue. Secondly, we often assist clients when an incident occurs, and typically for board members, it's important that they understand what happens, because you need to be able to explain it to a regulator, be it a privacy authority or the national bank or what have you, but it is really mandatory for someone at the board to really understand what the cyber risk exposure is, because it's becoming one of the most important risks that we're currently facing.
Should we invest more in role-playing scenarios that the board of directors are aware of?
Yeah,
it's possible.
What we sometimes do is tabletop exercises and just clarify, okay, we're doing an exercise. What happens and who does what when you're figuratively speaking, your house is on fire, okay? Who does what? Who assumes which responsibility? With whom are you going to communicate? Who's going to communicate internally, externally, towards the market, with the regulator? Who will sign off on the communications? These are the things that you really need to do, and you need to prepare yourself in some way or form on such types of incidents.
Because I think it was you that mentioned that training is required. The DORA is also applicable to the board of directors.
Yeah. So they need, within the board, you need to have people who understand cybersecurity, and they need to facilitate training within the organization. That's how it's actually stated, indeed.
And I want them to get through it.
So with that idea, I'm going to cut it, because actually it's a great idea to have a role-playing game. I want to see a show of hands. Would you come to a show of role-playing game on how to comply? Yes, you would. Yeah, but we ask questions. I want to see if there's enough interest in the room for us to organize. So raise your hands if you would be interested. So it's like a theater evening, but you will see your fellow entrepreneurs, fellow board members fail on stage. Now we're going to get more audience, so we're going to have to get it organized now. With that, I want to have a good round of applause for all our speakers. You have to stay seated for a few more minutes, because we're going to get some practical announcements about FinTech development by our CEO. Alessandra, please do start the slides. And I'm going to be your timing master to tell you when it's taking too long. There we go. Buy-in for active FinTechs, right?
In Belgium.
In Belgium, we have that, that's clear.
Good evening. So as Tom introduced me, I'm Alessandra, the CEO, and really happy CEO of this amazing ecosystem, FinTech Belgium. So we are by and for FinTechs active in Belgium. We are now 8 years old, soon to be at least. We represent something like 130, 140 FinTechs. When we say FinTechs, it's FinTechs, RegTech, CleanTech, WealthTech. You name it. We have NHTech, of course. We have, I would say, we have a team, a small team, like over 3-5 people that I really would like to applaud. Some of them are still staying at home. They are so amazing that I could even be late tonight, so thank you. So when I talk about these fintechs, we have like 75% of them are Belgian, the others come from abroad, so we are really an international ecosystem. We have different pillars we work on, so we promote them. We have, and for that, I invite you to go on our website. We have podcast channel, YouTube channel. We record. We try at least when the camera is more helpful than tonight, more supportive. We have all the videos of all our events online as well. We have a magazine, so if you are interested in digital finance, subscribe to our channels. We federate them, so we represent them towards the regulator in Belgium, but also at the European level. We launched, just before COVID, the European Digital Finance Association, EDFA, in Tunisia. And we are something, I'm not mistaken, not far from 20 members, so 20 hubs within this big hub at a European level. So we represent thousands of fintechs. We federate them towards these regulators, but not only. We are connected until Singapore, and we have tonight someone from Singapore. If I can invite you to just stand up so that you know who to go to. It's Uman Mundra, an amazing person who's been working in many things in Singapore, so please connect with him. I think he'll be thankful. Then we animate the community. That's what we do tonight, is making the magic happen by organizing lots of events, including free breakfast every 2 Fridays. So again, we are across the street from Euroclear and Biobank. If you see the neighborhood, come over. You're more than welcome. We incubate, so we support our startups and scale-ups thanks to partners. We are not subsidized. I have to say that in terms of resources, it's very hard for us. So we are looking for new partners to support us and to support the ecosystem. I'm looking at you because I know that it's going to be our next conversation. And so we really count on all these partners to support the ecosystem. Accelerate, we don't have any acceleration program, but we really try and accelerate the industry. So we are open for any challenge from the banks, from insurance companies. You come to us, we help you reverse pitching in front of fintechs, we help you scouting, we put you in contact with them, speed networking, brainstorming, whatever session, private events you need. Bring your challenge to us, and we will help you by putting all the people you need around the table to tackle these challenges. And then the talent, that was one of the topics we talked about this afternoon. I was at Fabio Academy, for instance. And talent is really, you were mentioning it as well, really crucial. And we are trying to work with, several universities and business schools to bring the word that I'm sorry for Accenture, but that there's not just the big four when they come out of school. And that actually, there's a lot of nice things to be done also on the digital aspect of finance. So this is us in a nutshell, and I'm going to be faster because otherwise I'm going to get on my back. Just so that you see a little bit the type of fintechs that we represent, very much connected to the DNA of Belgium, paytech, very strong infrastructure, enabling technologies, and RegTech, so regulation tech. And also, we love saving in Belgium, and it's well known. So infrastructure, financing and investment solutions are also very strong. I said all of that. I don't know why we have these ones. I'm going on. We have a physical place, but what is important is the upcoming events. So this is one of many events that we organize. These are conferences. We call them meetups. The next one will be in June, and it will be about applications of AI in financial services. and it will be more officially the launch of our brand new barometer on AI. So we've launched a survey amongst banks and insurance companies. More than 15 of them, just in Belgium, have answered to the survey. So the results are going to be really, really interesting, including the three of the four main banks. And so it's going to be a great day. So book it in your mark it in your calendar. We open usually registrations one month before the event. My bi-weekly breakfast, as I said, and then we also organize a lot of webinars to support our startups, but also to train the ecosystem in general. The next one will be on e-invoicing, coming soon as well, very hot topic for Belgium. And it can be great opportunities for many fintechs. So this is one of them, and it will be this Friday. And the next one will be on DORA. We will go really deeply, much more deeply into DORA, and not specifically with the cybersecurity approach. And yeah, I think that's what I can tell you. Then we will have a meetup in September on FIDA, after our back to school networking event. In the one thing that we also do is we organize the biggest event in Belgium in digital finance.
Which edition will it be?
It will be the 9th edition. Save the date. It's on the 6th of December. We had more than 600 people last year. We have the whole ecosystem is there. It is this event, but on steroids, and we're talking about all the latest trends in digital finance. We will be talking a lot about AI, and if I'm not mistaken, it will be about leveraging natural intelligence on individuals. Exactly. So yeah. Book the date, and if you're interested in partnering up on that event, we have a huge exhibition hall as well. Please reach out. The partnership will be ready in a week or two, so now is the time. If you want to follow us, website, we have an event calendar that you can follow as well. And this is what I said as well at the beginning. We have, a magazine. Take your edition, it's out there. We have a podcast, we have a YouTube channel, and of course our events really, the DFS is really where you can follow all the latest trends. And
maybe tell them that if they don't have the budgets to become a partner, you can buy like 10 tickets for all your. We also like those, so we're not looking down at all.
Absolutely, and all our events are public events, so if you want to come with, whenever, you're really more than welcome. I'm not sure that this video will work, but if you wish some kind of a change of career and you want to work in fintech, this is a job portal. You can find all the jobs, the job opportunities offered by our members. So that's one of the things we do in terms of talent, as I mentioned earlier on. Now, I insist on this. It is not violence, and it is not. It's not fake. We really rely on our partners to survive and to make these events. So I would like really to thank them and pre-announce the fact that Accenture has become our main partner. Is supporting us in many, many ways. We are going to be working on a report on ESG. Another really hot topic. You support us, and you will be. You can really stand up.
It's also Fabio is here.
Yes, Fabio. Okay, you can stand up. I think we'll be working. It's a real pleasure to collaborate with you. You have been super dynamic, super helpful and everything. So really great. Thank you for that. And many, many other projects together. Everything will be online. For the rest, we have lots of, again, really supportive partners. A big thank you to And if you want to connect, collaborate, and innovate, this is our motto. Just, call us. And otherwise, I think that we're going to thank the host another time. Thank you for this incredible hosting. We felt very welcome, very comfortable, and a really nice atmosphere, I have to say. And I'm not going to hold you longer because we have drinks and food. Exactly. If I can ask just the speakers to come here for a last picture all together.
Watch out the camera.
Yes.
Yes.
Big thanks. Round the drink.